What's up?
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Doing great. Never
Awesome.
better.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for taking some time. We appreciate it so much. We're huge, obviously huge MMA fans and giant fans of your fight and your story. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the time.
No problem. So we just wanted to start off by asking, how are you doing? Like, how is life post this insane knockout? How was that reaction? How are you doing so far? A couple days post the biggest knockout of the year.
It's freaking blowing up, man. It's insane. Just watching the amount of people that tuned into the fight, and then everybody I knew ever has seen it because it hit Snapchat. Forbes wrote about it.
Yeah.
It was 4 million views now on the ESPN Facebook page, and 1.5 on Twitter. It's ridiculous. So.
Honestly, I'm sure at least a couple hundred of those are just from us, just clicking it and rewatching.
I on those they gotta have an IP address, so I know they're fucking different people viewing in on different devices, or if you have multiple devices, if I view it on my computer, that's 2 different views, but
Right.
Still, that shit's insane.
How,
So I'm just ecstatic right now.
how many mentions on Twitter and Instagram and all that do you think your phone has received over the last few days?
And I haven't even gotten to all of them.
Well,
It's cool, really, honestly. It's a dream come true. I've been working for it for a long time, like something like this, like a big moment. And it's something I've been doing my whole career. So it just finally, I found it in a fight. I've turned over into, basically he turned over and it wasn't there to him. So he didn't really even swing his fist, but it was right there for me. And I knocked a home run.
Yeah. Speaking of preparation and getting here, you said in an interview before the fight that your plan was to tire him out. What exactly went into your pre-fight preparations? Was it a lot of cardio? Was it a lot of Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu?
Everything, man. Just fighting all the time, just training, doing MMA rounds all the time, just grinding, just getting really good at defending myself. As you can see, I'm not cut, and all the shots that landed. There was a couple shots that I committed to a shot and got landed, but other than that, everything he was throwing a lot of aggression, a lot of strikes, and I was parrying or deflecting just about everything. So, and I was pushing the pace to wear him out, making him assert himself, really. And I found the moment and capitalized. So. Yeah, our training's just super intense, man. I train with Mike Scacia over at Extreme Studio Performance, and he's top-notch strength and conditioning coach. And then Safe Saud and Fortis MMA, just grinding day in, day out, everything. You can't split it up into Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and all that at this level of the game. You have to know all those things already, and just work on your overall MMA game, because when you're in the cage, it's a fight. It's not stand up, it's not ground. It's everything in the middle, everything in between. You just got to learn to be in the moment.
Absolutely. What is your daily routine like when you're training for a camp or things like that? Or are you like a Nate Diaz who doesn't believe in a camp and is just training nonstop all day long every day?
It's a lifestyle, man. Look,
Yeah.
fight fit lifestyle.
Love
That's what it is, man. I just live it. This is my brand. You can check us out at fightfitlifestyle.com.
Yes, sir.
You can get your merch, whatever, but we preach the lifestyle, and I love it. I'm healthy. Back to the gym Monday morning, training. I love it. There's nothing else I'd rather do. I'm just ecstatic that I've made it to this level of the notoriety. I've been working at it 11 years, and it's finally going to start to pay off here pretty soon. I'm going to get paid to shake hands, so That'll be nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, speaking of notoriety, your fight was in Mexico. Obviously, you're an American, so you're fighting away from home soil. What was it like when you feel like you won the crowd over, when you started getting those cheers and that support from a fan base that wasn't your own?
Man, I had thought about that moment for so long, and I knew they were going to boo me, and I knew how I was going to win them over, and I freaking rehearsed it. Like, I was singing that shit walking down the streets of Mexico, and it was just, I saw the moment, and it was there. I made it happen. You got to see it, believe it, make it happen.
Yeah.
There'll be setbacks, but you can make it happen, and I saw that moment, visualized it so much, and it turned out better than I could imagine.
That's incredible. When you finished the fight, a lot of people noticed that you began to close your eyes and pray, is what it was reported that you began to do after he was knocked out. What was that experience like, and is that a common thing that you've done where you just, you worry about your opponent's health and their safety following such a brutal knockout the way that you were able to do?
Yeah, I never hurt nobody that bad. I've finished dudes, and I knew they'd be all right, and then I shook their hand. After the fight's over, I'm a sport. I don't got anything against these guys. They got the same dreams that I got in common. So, there's unless I have an animosity, but I rarely have those animosities. So, yeah, and I would just drop down and pray because I hurt him bad. So,
yeah.
I wanted him to get back up and be okay.
Have you spoken to him yet, or have you checked up on to see how he's doing or anything?
No. The UFC. If he was dead, y'all would hear about it. So.
Yeah.
Right. Just wondering if he's still mad at you for turning the lights out on him.
No, we spoke when he got up,
yeah.
But he was a little discombobulated, right. And then. Backstage, they took him off to the hospital, and I said, "Keep your head up, dude." And because he obviously was disappointed, and he was missing his teeth. I'd be pissed if I was missing my teeth.
You knocked out his teeth.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I guess you guys are the first media people that I told that.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna probably break that news if that's okay.
I'm not bragging about it in any way.
Yeah, no.
If I woke up and my teeth were gone. Get knocked out, it's not the worst thing that can happen in the world, but you get knocked out and your life's changed. I gotta get some new teeth, if your jaw's broken, I don't know, people have their orbitals fractured, life-changing stuff, so, I just hope he's all right. That's what I, pray for.
You see, that's what I'm saying, though. What if he comes at you and says, "Hey, man, you got to pay for these new teeth of mine. You're the one who took them out."
No, that's on the UFC. They got insurance for that. So,
hopefully he's got insurance, right?
Yeah, no, I'm sure the UFC. They got insurance, so right. They got to cover everything they're legally liable for.
Right.
And they got the money, so I'm sure they ain't tripping about that. They got their money for it.
One question that I'm pretty interested in. You're a very, you bring the definition of mixed martial arts to your fighting style. We kind of want to know. Who was your idol growing up? Was there a fighter that made you go, "Oh my gosh, I want to be an MMA fighter. I want to be in the UFC"?
All the reals, man. Okay. All the real ones. I got into fighting because I got picked on, and it was I didn't pick fights with people. It wasn't why I got in fights when I was a kid. I got in fights because people would pick on me, and I'd be like, why you picking on me, man? What did I do to you?
Right.
And they'd make me cry when I was real little, and I get so mad, and I hit them. And then I was looked at as crazy. What's wrong with this guy? And I was just standing up for myself, really, and just got a reputation for fighting. And then seen on TV when I was in high school, I was I'd been watching bum fights and Kimbo slice when I was a kid. I would look up street fights and all that. Wasn't into boxing or nothing like that, but I just look at fights and thought it was cool. I was going to learn how to fight, so I learned how to fight by watching film and watching MMA on TV, and I was like, I could do this. I could do this, and I at that point through high school, like I'd gotten so many fights, I was kind of like the standard. Anybody that was like, oh, if you think you can fight, you should fight Ocho. He can fight. And then, so I started like a club in my backyard. We called it Friday Night Fights. And I was like, I'd get in fights with these kids, and I beat most of them. Most people wouldn't want to fight me, and it was cool. And when he always shook hands, it was like a sport thing. And this one kid could train. He trained out of a garage, and he trained with a coach and knew some things, and he had these moves, and he was catching me in submissions. It's like a choke and triangle choke. He wouldn't choke me out, but he'd elbow me in the head until I'd bleed everywhere, and they'd like, oh, this enough, you know? Yeah. And it was like, I gotta learn this. So I went and trained with him in the garage, Coach Garcia, and a month later had my first amateur fight and fell in love with the sport, man.
Incredible. That is such a cool story of all the different things that you learned and creating your own league and things like that. That's super awesome. I don't want to talk about this too much, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. Back in 2017, you had your sort of your UFC debut kind of thing with Dana White's Contender Series, and not your UFC debut, but your a big platform to get a big contract.
Yeah.
When you were there and you had such a close loss, it was a split decision, and what were your thoughts following that? Were you in the mindset of, this is all or nothing? And would you have ever thought 2 years later you got 5 UFC fights under your belt, a performance bonus, you're all over social media, and you're this big star now?
When I went to the Contender Series fight, it was all or nothing when I was fighting. It's always all or nothing when I'm fighting. That's the way I fight. That's the way I live my life. It's always all or nothing. When it's over, whatever happens, happens. There's nothing I can do about that after it's over. I can only do about that when it's in the moment. Like, when it happens, happens. So after it's over, it's like, where do you go from now? You go forward. So I went back to LFA, that's where I was before, so just keep going forward. I love this sport. I'm going to be in it for a long time. I'm here to stay, and I just go forward. And I knew I would be I either knew I would be cut or not, like in and out, or I would continue to fight, and I will always be like one of those guys. It's like, I'll fight until my career's over, till I'm older, till, I accomplish what I want to accomplish in the sport. I'm going to make it. I'm going to accomplish my goals. I'm going to get the belt eventually. Then I might have other lessons to learn. I might have other setbacks, but I'm going to continue to move forward and accomplish my goals.
That is such a cool response to everything. You've always had that fighter spirit. You've always had that champion spirit of you knock down and you come right back up and you're ready to go, and that's what's made your career so great.
Yeah, real quick, in this fight, it was like my back was against the wall. It was all or nothing, right? And I was like, in my mind, you have to go over the scenarios. Where would you go if it doesn't go as planned? I'm gonna give it my all. If something happens, I'm gonna continue to fight, and I'm gonna get back in the UFC, and I'm gonna make it happen. And it happened for me that night. And, I'm going to continue to get finishes. I'm going to continue to beat people. But there's some times where, especially fighting somebody like a game planner that's going to not go out there and fight and try and win on points, then that's a different story. Like, I'm going to come at you and try and take you out because that's my job. We're not going to the scorecards. That's not the plan. If that happens, it happens. And then hopefully you did enough to win, but after that, it's out of your control. I'm going to try and finish you because that's in my control right now.
Absolutely. Very, very well put. I'd just like to say you have one of the best fighter mentalities that I've ever come in contact with. And speaking of that, you said just minutes ago about going for the belt and always striving for more and for better. The question we have now is probably the question that a lot of other people have. Do you have a name in mind? What is next for you, for Steven Peterson? What is the next play?
Whoever. I want a name. I want a name that people recognize, and they're like, yeah, I want to see that fight. Obviously, I want to fight Alex again, and I hope he actually fights me this time.
That would be a great fight, and he's
But there's so many other names out there.
Right.
I mean, the featherweight division's stacked. I just want to fight, obviously, top 10, because that's when you start working your way up to the title fights, and those are usually guys that are going to try and come out there and fight you and take you out, and that's what you're supposed to do when you're in there. I want somebody to try and take me out because that brings out the best in me. That's when I fight to kill.
Has Dana spoken to you? Have you heard from anybody up there post this knockout?
No, I've heard from Dana. I heard from John Shelby. I mean, he's the matchmaker. He's my boss. So Dana's the big boss. He's the president.
Right.
He's the boss. But the guy that handles what's next, and he's not expecting me to fight through the end of the year. I took 2 back-to-back, but I told him, whatever, man. I want to stay active. I enjoy this. I want to get paid. I want to get paid in and out of the sport, And at this point, I'm going to use this to, promote my brand, promote my business, promote my name. I've wanted to act since I was a kid. I always wanted to be Superman when I was a kid. So the Superman act, I want to drive race cars, and fighting came along later in life when it was like, everybody's like, what are you going to do for a living? What are you going to pursue? I had already gotten into fighting at that point, so I was like, I can do this. That's do that, yeah. So, and it was rough, man. It was rough. I had ups and downs, and there was times where I couldn't pay the bills, but I found a way. Just made it happen.
Right. That's awesome. Speaking of Superman, this question was inspired by an Instagram page who reached out to us, Fight Noise, on Instagram. Reached out, and this question's inspired by them. Where did the Superman tattoo on your chest come from? What inspired that? What made you decide to go there?
So, once I started fighting back, when people would ask me, or when I get beat up by older kids, it didn't matter if they were older or younger, if they were like pushing me. At that point, I had reached enough, like, screw this getting picked on. I'm going to start beating people up for picking on me. And then I'd get beat up, and I'd get up and continue to fight or continue to, run my mouth. And then these older kids be like, you walk around like you got an S on your chest. And I'd keep my chest, because I kept my chest up, my chin up, and be like, try to be tough. And so I've said that since I was a little kid, and I said that all the way going through my, I've heard that, you walk around like you got an S on your chest. So when I was 18, I got an S on my chest because I was allowed to get tattoos. I was like, all right, it's time. I got my S on my chest. And now I just try to represent it with class, and try to just be proud and keep my head up no matter what, because I put everything into this.
Right. And that you do, honestly, with class, with just your great example of put an S on your chest. Man, I'm going to start saying that. That's catchy too, right? That sounds good.
You can market that. Brick, do you have any other questions?
No? Do you want to
I had a quick jiu-jitsu question. Just how long have you been rolling? I do jiu-jitsu as well, so I just think that's cool.
Since I started rolling in the garage when I started training. I was 17 years old. I'm 29. What's that?
Wow.
11, 12 years, going on 12 years. But not the first 3 years of I never rolled with like a jiu-jitsu coach.
Right.
I just rolled, just basically got people in arm bars. I learned the arm bar from watching it on TV. I was like, this is freaking cool. You can break somebody's arm.
Yeah.
On top of you, beating you up. That's really cool. So I learned how to do that first, and then I was pulling that off in amateur MMA fights and into pro MMA fights. Got a 24-second armbar on my career. The guy was way bigger than me. He rushed me, took me down, and I broke his arm. And it was like a tool, and I got really good at it, and that led to all of jiu-jitsu, which led to wrestling and all that. And
Incredible.
My whole career.
Incredible. Well, from arm bars to counter spinning back fists, you've got it all. And we really, really appreciate your time and your honesty and giving us some news to break about knocking out some teeth on Saturday. So we appreciate everything that for reaching back to us and everything. We know you're busy. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys.
Have a good one.
You too.